Hello, I'm the Who Guy and welcome back to another episode review on the channel where today we're taking a look at the Interstellar Song Contest. Yes, episode 6 of season 2. We've got a lot to talk about, so we're going to go through my positives, the bad things about this episode, as well as just my overall opinions, and then I'll give you an overall ranking at the end. If you guys do enjoy these reviews, smash that like button, subscribe down below if you're new to the channel, because we've got a lot to talk about, so let's get straight into the review. Where to begin? Well, we have to talk about the good in this episode, and once again, another solid entry into this season, I believe. This definitely is one of the better episodes of the season so far. There's no place to start than the character reveals. We got the character reveal finally of Mrs. Flood. All this time, we finally know who she is, and she is the Rani, and I could not believe it. I know there's been rumours, leaks, and just everything online. I try to ignore a lot of it, and I never thought this day would happen, but the Rani is back in Doctor Who. So this is really, really interesting that once again Russell is bringing back a classic Who villain into the new season to be the big bad of Ncuti's second season. And the Rani, who else could you have? I think Mrs. Flood to this point has done a fantastic job setting her up. A bit nitpicky on the bi-regeneration. We'll get to that when I talk about the bad section, but when it came as a whole, we get this new regeneration of the Rani. I think she looks like the Rani to me. I think Mrs. Flood doesn't look like the Rani to me, of what I would picture the Rani to look like. She's kind of like this messenger, half-split Rani. We do have a brand new actor playing the Rani. I forget her name now, but she looks wonderful, and we've had costume designs. And the costume I really like in this like red coat, and then I believe we get a different costume for the next episode, which has been revealed as well. This nice leathery type. That looks really cool. So I'm all for the Rani being back. As long as they use her well, I'm really excited. And we kind of knew we were going to get the mystery of Mrs. Flood finished in this episode, and yeah, that post-credit scene was pretty awesome. But that's not it. That is not it. We got one better reveal, I believe anyway, than just the Rani returning. Susan Foreman is back. Susan Foreman is back. I can't believe it. After all these years, I'm watching the first Doctor stories now, and Susan's obviously in those. And that is crazy that she's back. This is great timing for me. But to see her in an episode, no one was predicting this season. And to see her just pop up like that was insane. I love the way she was worked into the story as well, to wake up the Doctor when he was stuck in space. That was crazy, and the kind of flashes that we see her throughout this episode really gets me excited, and hopefully she does return in this season. If not this season, I'm assuming she will return in the future. I hope this isn't a one-off thing. I would expect her to come back. Just crazy, especially classic Who fans. This episode is for you. The return of the Rani and the return of Susan Foreman. And I just cannot wait to see where this storyline goes. I've always wanted Susan back returning, because we don't really find out what happens to her in the show, so it's great to see that she's back. We of course heard some bits about her in, I believe it was The Devil's Cord for Ncuti season 1. Physically have her back in Doctor Who is quite a momentous occasion, and I couldn't believe it. But both of those character reveals make this episode awesome anyway. Now let's actually get into the episode itself. And I've got to say, I was very surprised about this episode of how much I actually enjoyed it. I'm not a fan of the Eurovision Song Contest as a whole. I don't really watch it. I'm not really interested in it. And I thought this episode was going to be a bit meh for me, just because I have no interest in that. And I thought it was just going to be songs all of the time, and it was just going to be pretty not my kind of thing. But I thoroughly enjoyed most of this episode. I thought the songs worked in this episode. It wasn't too singy.
Not a word.
Like, it wasn't just song after song after song. They were placed well within the story. The whole setting in that kind of space station arena was fantastic. And just graphically, this whole episode looked amazing. I believe it's one of the most expensive Doctor Who episodes ever. And you can kind of tell with the wire work that was going on, the CGI that was going on, the set designs, everything looked immaculate. So they did a fantastic job on that. It was a really surprising episode for me to enjoy. And I think Juno Dawson absolutely knocked it out of the park. And Russell's really cooking with this season. I think this is a much stronger season than season 1. That really bumps the episode up for me, because I really wasn't expecting much, and well, I would say we got quite a lot. I thought also the extended cast in this were amazing, and remember them because they were cool characters. Like, we got the two villains, Sid and Sabine, was it? They were pretty cool with the little devil horns. That was awesome. We will get into the political side later in this section with them and the whole planet around that. But I thought they were really cool. The way they were trying to push their motives and push their ideas through this Interstellar Song Contest. Thought the addition of Rylan in this episode worked really well. Again, not too big of a fan of him, but he worked really well in this episode. As well as Graham Norton, again, someone I like, but not like a big fan, but I thought worked really well in this episode and did a fantastic job as that kind of hologram. But Gary and Mike, for me, stole the show. I loved their connection with each other. I absolutely loved that. Those two side characters really worked well for the story, and I just quite liked it. One of them being like a super fan of the Interstellar Song Contest. One of them being kind of me, the person that isn't a fan of it but is going anyway. And the way they grew throughout the episode, that was really nice to see. The whole episode was also scattered with just loads of fun Doctor Who campiness, which we have seen a lot with Russell being back in the show, with Ncuti especially being this more campy Doctor, especially with his language. But this episode felt campy, but not too campy. I don't like when Doctor Who literally just goes off the rails with campiness, but this one had some fun camp moments, especially how the Doctor got back into the space station with the confetti cannon, and just the characters themselves in this episode, the costumes. I'm not too into that kind of stuff with Doctor Who, but I think it worked really well for this episode. And if you're going to do campiness, you're going to do it in the Interstellar Song Contest. I thought Ncuti was fantastic in this episode. Once again, he never really has a bad performance as the Doctor. But especially the scene where he kind of goes off the rails and starts electrocuting like a Cyberman kid at the end, because he has been so triggered about the amount of deaths that this person's going to cause, kind of reminded him of his population of Gallifrey. And he went off the rails, and I did like that Belinda kind of took a step back and kind of told him off once again that he is going too far, and this is what happens when the Doctor just doesn't have a companion by his side. He has no one to stop him. And Ncuti is supposed to be this kind of reformed, gone through therapy Doctor, so it doesn't really make sense. But it's what I like to see from a Doctor. And I think he did a fantastic job, especially when he was seeing Susan and the kind of flashes of Susan, where he was just so confused and just didn't want to believe it. Can't wait for those two to reunite, hopefully. Now, if you actually delve deep into this episode, it is very political. I'm not going to get into the political side because I'm not really a political person, to be honest. But if you want to do your research, this is very much like stuff that is going on around the world right now. Some horrible things. Countries getting destroyed for no reason. Really links very much with this episode, with the kind of honey harvesting and all of that lot, and countries being portrayed as they are all bad and no one likes them. Just all of that and kind of abandonment was in this episode, and I think it worked really well. It was on the nose a bit, but I still enjoyed it. And Doctor Who can sometimes lean too much into the political world we live in right now, but I think it was worked really well in this episode and made sense for the story, like for the villains to have the motive to do this. So the ending with that really emotional song, we get some really cool shots of the planet itself that is getting destroyed. I think it was like Helia or something. That looked really cool. Sad with the poppies and everything. It was quite an emotional ending, and I thought that worked really well. One of my favourite scenes in this episode has to be the morbid scenes of all of those bodies going into space. That was like some zombie epic film. That was really cool. Might need to get checked out for that one, but I did quite enjoy that.
Anyway, moving on.
But overall, in the goods, there's a lot of good about this episode. Let's get into the bad. I only have like 3 nitpicks, again, because I enjoyed this episode so much, and I was so surprised that I enjoyed this episode. I don't have too many bad things about this episode. The first one would be Sonic in this episode just seemed to be way too much. He used it like 50 times, and it was very overpowered. There's been Doctor Who episodes where that's been a problem before, and in this episode I would say again, like, he just pressed the button, robots were dead. Stuff like that. I feel like Ncuti hasn't actually used his Sonic enough, but I felt like he used it a bit too much in this episode. Another thing I wasn't too keen on was the bi-regeneration from Mrs. Flood into this new Rani. I wish it was just Mrs. Flood changed into this new Rani. I thought there isn't really a need to split the two, because now you have 2 Ranis and it's kind of confusing. We of course have this Holy Trinity that's going on with Conrad. That's supposed to be in the next couple of episodes, so hopefully this kind of gets explained. I'm not much of a fan of the 2 Ranis. I just wish there was one. So that's just another thing. Why did she buy Regenerate? I don't think she really needed to in that situation. And finally, I thought Belinda was off in this episode. I don't know what it was. I don't know whether it was her acting. There was some scenes where she was obviously emotional that the Doctor was, well, dead, gone. My personal opinion, I thought the acting was quite bad. I don't know if this was just me. Comment down below. I really believe the performance. It kind of took me out the episode. This might just be a me thing and you guys think she did fantastic, but there was just something off about Belinda in this episode for me. And that's why overall I have to rate this episode an 8 out of 10 because there were a couple of bits that I didn't like, especially the bi-regeneration, the use of the Sonic, and I didn't think Belinda had the best performance in the world. But I was very surprised that I enjoyed this episode. I wasn't coming into this episode with too much high hopes, and it knocked it out of the park for me. So 8 out of 10 for me for this episode. If you guys think differently or just have any opinions, comment down below what you thought about this episode and give it a ranking down below. And if you had to describe this episode in 3 words, what 3 words would that be? I would say this episode is camp, surprising, and fabulous. Overall, a great story in Doctor Who. One I'm definitely going to rewatch again. It's definitely rewatchable, this story, and it's quite big for the Doctor Who universe with the return of Susan and the Rani. And I did like that it was leaning into the campiness of Doctor Who. So I've been the Who Guy. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Such ancient songs.